On November 1st, clocks were moved back an hour, marking the end of daylight savings time. This 1 hour time change has detrimental effects to our physical and mental health. Etty Ben-Simon, a postdoctoral researcher at UC Berkeley, describes these effects.
Two types of effects we can talk about. One is losing an hour of sleep, which what happens when we enact daylight saving time. So in the spring, because the clock is sprung forward, we actually lose an hour of sleep. And when we lose that hour of sleep, we see a lot of effects on human behavior. People tend to um, suffer more cardiovascular, so heart attacks. When we switch to daylight saving time, people tend to get involved more in car accidents and work accidents. We have a lot of evidence that people, when they lose an hour of sleep or when they just lose sleep in general, they tend to be less social. They're less interested in interacting with other people and they feel lonelier as well. And we see that if we focus, let's say, on children and teenagers, we see that they are less motivated to learn and they also feel worse uh, about themselves.
In 2018, California voters voted in favor of Proposition 7, which would establish year-long daylight savings time in the state. However, this measure hasn't been enacted yet. Kansan Chu, a Bay Area Assembly member who authored the proposition, explains why.
The propositions, part of the Proposition 7 is to allow the legislature to decide which way we want it to go. So I left it that way because if for whatever reason the future legislature want to change this practice, they don't have to go back to the voter. We can just change it by the vote of the legislature. So after Proposition 7 passed, I introduced a bill of AB 7, trying to put California into year-long daylight saving time. But in order to implement that, we need the federal government, the Congress, have to change a uniform time map to allow the state the option of going to daylight saving time year-round.
For this bill to be approved, it will need to be advocated for at the state and federal level.
You need to write to your congressman and encourage people to also write to their congressman to put it in their agenda, that we need to put some pressure, write, email, text, fax to the legislature to pass that bill. Then finally, the bill will go to the desk of the governor. So we also need to put some pressure on the governor to sign it into the law.
Even though a time change will still be occurring for the time being, Simon shares what people can do to prepare for the switch.
So what we can do is to try and a few days before or the change to go to sleep 1 hour earlier. So we slowly allow ourselves to get that extra hour of sleep when the change is going to come.
To learn more, visit the University of California's article, Daylight Savings Time Saves No One. For InFocus, I'm Aneesh Tiwari.